Welcome to Innovation and Leadership. I'm Jess Larson. This is part 2 of our interview with Chris Hunt.
Definitely difficult when $1 million+ is thrown in your face. But like I said, for us, it was the motivation to do something worthwhile in this world and making a product that can help people and just help people have fun.
Chris, so for anybody who maybe missed part 1, can you again give us the 30-second overview on how High Power Cycles?
Yeah, my name's Chris Hunt with High Power Cycles. I'm one of the founders. We started about 10 years ago. We make awesome US-made electric bikes. Electric bikes are kind of like normal bikes that you pedal, but you have a throttle or you have pedal assist and you have extra power in your legs whenever you want it. So you can go farther, see more terrain, have more fun, go faster. And we just concentrate on keeping everything as United States made as possible. And we're one of the few companies doing it. Pretty much everything you see is outsourcing from overseas, but we're one of the ones grinding to get it done at home.
So, and I want to talk about that. And for anybody who didn't catch part 1 of the episode, the thing I think is awesome is their fastest bike. You know, they got 60, 70-pound bikes doing 60 miles an hour, which is pretty awesome for a big off-road bike. Looks like a downhill mountain bike. So talking about this idea of keeping it made at home, it seems like you have to be pretty intentional about the way you manufacture and what you buy and what you spend, and probably consistently looking for ways to be more effective on getting that produced at home and being able to still offer it at a competitive price.
Yeah, the pricing is definitely the toughest part. You know, we try to have a fair price, but doing it home is literally, I mean, the frame itself is, to make the US made a basic frame is probably costing us 7 times more than what it used to take when we had a foreign made frame of the same type, either in Taiwan or China. So it's definitely raised the cost a lot, but I feel like the quality more than justifies it. But not only the quality, but just having the guts to get it done at home. I think it's worth it. It's worth it to me personally. And we'll try to keep margins down a little bit just to keep the price points down on most of the bikes. But to me, it's worth it. It's a worth trade-off. And a lot of our customers actually really appreciate what it takes to be US made. And I'm actually going to launch a video on our YouTube channel today or tomorrow, about the revolution and how it's actually made. And there's a lot of behind the scenes footage of everything that we do and everything that goes into it. So I think instead of just seeing a product, they're like, oh, you know, they probably just buy it as is. They'll get to see a behind the scenes look of everything that goes into it. It's a long and tedious process.
Yeah.
To even make a frame, to even start building from scratch.
Sure. Well, can you talk a little bit about your approach on organic growth versus taking our investor dollars, and how you've built an organization maybe a little more disciplined than other folks who risk everything?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's non-traditional, but it's just I went with my gut and how I felt and kind of how I was raised. My dad is actually blind, and he went completely blind probably by the time I was 5 years old. I'm 34 years old right now. And you know, he used to be able to drive a car and read a book, but he went completely blind. And he was one of my inspirations. He started a winery over 20 years ago called Hunt Cellars in Paso Robles, and they have a 550 acre vineyard up there. And, it's just been inspiring to see, someone that physically can't see anything, get it done in a business and deliver a superior product. So I learned a lot from him. I think he's the one that cautioned about borrowing money and how hard it is to pay back. We never wanted to give away our business or part of our business. And it was okay to us because we love what we do. We love the excitement and the joy and the smiles it brings on people's faces when they ride our bikes. Because it's only when you ride it do you understand really what it is and the significance of it. So we didn't really want it. We weren't in it to get rich quick or anything like that. We just love what we did, and we love delivering a product that was actually helpful and beneficial to society. So we were like, whatever, it is what it is. We'll grow at our own pace, and we'll just see where it takes us.
Yeah. Sounds like a pretty amazing story with your dad. Can you talk about just some of the ways he set an example for you in dealing with that type of challenge, but continuing to push ahead?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've learned is his mental fortitude and his toughness, because it sucks, but I've seen firsthand, how people will take advantage of people in business. It's very cutthroat at times, and you kind of have to dance a delicate balance between being very firm, bordering on aggressive when you need to be, but also, nice when you can, and accommodating. But I've seen people, just outright lie to him about barrels in the barrel room and wine being full and how many barrels of this is there and what's there. And we go up there and, the Zinfandel is gone or like half drinking, and, there's missing barrels, missing cases of wine, like just outright lies, because my dad can't see. So what is he going to do? He's like, oh, let me see what you have. He can't see anything. So he's not going to call him out. It has to be someone else that knows what he said and, what he's told my dad. So it was up to us a couple times to go up there and kind of surprise them and see if they're telling the truth. But it happened time and time again where they would take advantage of my father's sight. So he developed I think it's overboard sometimes, but I see why that toughness gene is in him and why he'll just go off on someone when they need to be gone off on. And, he won't lay down or give up or, let anyone take advantage of him if he can help it. So he's super tough in that regard. And I see why, and I see the importance of that, but you really got to balance it and not come off as a complete jerk.
Interesting how so often when someone has something like that, that society says, oh, that's too bad. And, I guess you need to give up on your dreams, and we need to, you need to become realistic, and, all these things that, would give people the chance to be let off the hook from having the same life as other folks because they have a disadvantage in some way, huh?
Yeah. And then if, people want to read about it, or there was it was probably the best little short video I've seen on him to date. Fox Business flew down from New York to interview him at the winery, and they have a little video on the Fox Business channel, on the Fox Business News. And his name is David Hunt, and the winery is Hunt Cellars, but you can watch that video, and it's pretty inspiring. Even though it's short, it was a great video.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. Well, talk about this idea of investors trying to throw money at you and your decision to keep growing the business the way that you have.
Definitely difficult when $1 million+ is thrown in your face. But like I said, for us, it was the motivation to do something worthwhile in this world, and making a product that can help people and just help people have fun, that I just didn't want to give up the reins even partially to anybody else. And I just wanted to, along with my brother, just steer our own ship, and, just have faith that we could grow it ourselves and that we would be a viable business without anyone else's help.
Kind of be able to deliver on the promise of the brand, maybe then just focusing on profits to accommodate an investor. Is that a bit of where you're going there?
Yeah. And I just didn't want anyone telling me what to do or their input. I didn't want their input in my business.
It's funny to hear that because I know that feeling so much, and in some ways it's gotten me into trouble sometimes when I haven't had enough humility and haven't been honest enough about my situations when I've tried to invent something new or go a new direction. Right.
Yeah.
And then there's other times where the people I work with, they come back to me and it's a year later, 18 months later, and they're like, Jess, I just have to apologize. I honestly thought this was never going to work, and I really held back, and, I thought you were crazy, and, and you totally proved me wrong. And, so it's interesting, especially for somebody like you who is literally inventing something that hasn't existed and pushing into something where people haven't been. You're not out there, doing a commodity business that everybody knows what the result is looking like. You're literally inventing a new version of the sport, a new aspect of the sport.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that because, everything we've done in the past is giving us the money to do something even cooler in the future. So now we're working on these U.S. made sine wave controllers that are going to be specific for military use first and foremost, because the military has purchased Revolutions and folding bikes and batteries, and they've tested a lot of our kits, and they've been putting it through insane testing that I had never even knew was a thing. And once they explained what, like at their Lockheed Martin proving grounds, like what they actually do, it just threw me for a loop on how difficult the testing was. So we're like, you know what, this is a really cool application for our bikes. And if our bikes can actually survive military applications and the rigorous testing that they go through, then the civilian market is going to be that much easier for us. So a lot of our new products, we're developing U.S. made controllers from scratch for, I know I want to use in the military. So it's going to be like for military use.
What is it controlling?
So a speed controller basically is taking the signal of your throttle and converting it to a way that it can power the Hall sensors and the phases inside the electrical motor, and it allows it to spin freely and smoothly. So when you actually twist the throttle, it's going to engage the motor, and the motor is going to spin at a particular RPM, or just like a throttle in the car. When you press that throttle, that the wheel is going to spin. It's kind of the interface that allows the power transmission to the motor from the battery. So it takes the battery power and the signal that you give it with your throttle, and then it converts it to actually spinning the wheel.
Okay.
Spinning the motor.
Let's take a quick break from our sponsor, and then I want to hear why that's so important to you. Okay, so Chris, right before the sponsor break, we were talking about the controller that you're so passionate about building. Tell us why that becomes a game changer, why that's such an advantage for rigorous military testing that would eventually create a better civilian bike as well.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So this the U.S. made controller that we're making is it's going to be expensive to produce, but it's going to be ultra reliable. It's completely overbuilt. We really believe in overbuilding everything. So our motors are going to be capable of putting out a lot more power than they actually do, because I believe in reserves. Same with our battery systems. They're going to be capable of outputting a lot higher amps than we actually run it at, just because when you have cells rated for, say, 10C. 10C means if the capacity is 10 amp hours, that's basically how much energy is in the battery, then it can do 10 times the rated capacity of the battery in terms of continuous discharge. So that would mean that 10 amp hour battery could discharge at 100 amps. If you have that kind of capability, I'm going to scale it back probably 30%, 35%, and maybe output only 70, 65 amps. Just because when you do that, the batteries aren't even trying hard. They're not working. They're not overheating. You don't need to worry about massive cooling infrastructure. And everything just stays kind of happy and not getting overly worked. So we're going to overbuild this new controller system, and we're going to put a lot of high-end parts. It's going to be completely waterproof. It's going to just be – we're trying to make it bulletproof, almost literally, and maybe literally. But when we do that, then the crazy things that they were doing, like 24 or 48-hour constant use up steep, heavy terrain, switching riders, like nonstop type of stuff. If it can hold up to that, then it'll be that much easier for the casual commuter that uses it once or two times or three times a week.
Yeah. When you think about the rest of us listening to the episode and the organizations we're growing or transforming, and help us think about how that principle would apply, because it feels like so often to win business, we need to basically show the customer everything we've got, and we need to we need to max everything out every time. But as you're saying that, it makes me feel like, the long-term advantage of consistently over-delivering is worth the short-term disadvantage of maybe missing out on a sale or not getting every ounce of the market you could get today because you're under-promising. Any thoughts about that kind of an idea?
To us, reliability is key. So more importantly than anything is we make the most reliable product that we're capable of making. Holding back a little bit is good for the parts in general, just because they don't heat up as quickly. But also for, in my mind, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but in my mind, in case technology didn't progress as well as it could, I could still come out with maybe I would still have time for maybe another release of a more powerful or exciting release, even if technology didn't necessarily warrant it, just because we do have the built-in reserves and I can always push it up a little bit if I needed to. But that's just a personal opinion. So I don't know.
Well, can you talk about this idea of, for some folks, it could be depressing that the market is always going to want more, and that it could feel like a never-ending treadmill of, we're going to need, the competition is going to try and come out with a faster, lighter bike than us that's just as tough, and it could feel like like being tied to the hamster wheel to always have to come up with something better. But when I talk to you, it almost feels like that's what you're in it for. Like that's the sport you signed up to play, and like it's almost like you think it's fun to play that sport.
I love competition. If someone comes out with something better to me, it's just going to drive me that much harder. I love to fight back. If no one's coming out with anything interesting, I'm my biggest competition. We're gonna raise the bar and do something different. And every year I want to do something. I don't want to just sit on something. I want to change it. I want to make it better. So luckily for us, technology's been improving, so we've been able to do that. But I'm always trying to figure out, if no one's pushing us, I'm going to push us.
It's interesting how, at our consulting firm, we the leadership training and kind of like the enterprise excellence work that we do with continuous improvement and lean and stuff like that. We're big fans of the Stoic philosophers from like 2,500 years ago, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus and all those old guys with long names, right? Mm-hmm. And it does seem like for them so often they just chose how they were going to feel about a different situation. Like it's like, hey, you're looking at a situation, maybe you have a knee-jerk reaction to it, but after that knee-jerk reaction, you can intentionally think what you want to think about a situation. Like there's what happened, and then there's our perception of what happened. And they would like intentionally ask themselves questions to rethink what they wanted to think about a situation. Mm-hmm. And like, how to turn obstacles into the stepping stone for getting what they want instead of just a block. And it sounds like you've just like intentionally embraced like, hey, we're going to play a sport. It's called continual improvement. It's called getting better every day. Is that fair? How would you say it differently?
No, I guess I agree with that. I think a lot of it stems, and I'm a big advocate of sports, but I love to play basketball. And when I was little, my dream was to play in the NBA. Never really panned out to the NBA, but I still played overseas in Spain, and I played in the IBL, which was a little pro league in around Portland, and they had some teams up in the Northwest. But I had fun doing it, and I loved the competition, and I loved the hard work and dedication and needed to improve. Like what you needed to do to improve was, it was hard work. Waking up early and lifting weights and running and doing suicide drills on the court, and just fighting back. Always having that fighting mentality when you're losing, because I hated losing. I couldn't stand it. So whatever it took to win, I was down to give it my all. So I think a lot of it honestly translates from sport.
I love it.
As being a business owner.
Yeah. Well, besides checking out your social, where you have some great videos, the website High Power Cycles, which is hi-powercycles.com. What anything else that you'd want to put out there as far as people who want to check out the product and learn more about it?
Just thank you to everyone that's been supporting us over the years and pushed us to make U.S. made products, and they're just behind us and behind everything we do. Just check out the website, highpowercycles.com, and we're going to keep trying to innovate for you guys and keep doing as much as we can in the U.S. Just because we're super proud of doing that.
That's awesome. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.